Shalom, my friends, and welcome to weekly Parsha with Yehuda Yisrael. This week's Parsha is Matot-Masei, and it's one of these double Parshiot in the book of Bamidbar, and we will get right into it. So, Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, "This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. If a man makes a vow to the Lord or makes an oath to prohibit himself, he shall not violate his word. According to whatever came out of his mouth, he shall do. If a woman makes a vow to the Lord or imposes a prohibition upon herself while in her father's house in her youth, if her father heard her vow or her prohibition which she has prohibited upon herself, yet her father remains silent, all her vows shall stand, and any prohibition that she has imposed upon herself shall stand." Interesting. "But if her father hinders her on the day that he hears it, all her vows and her prohibitions that she imposed upon herself shall not stand. The Lord will forgive her because her father hindered her." This is where this concept of there's a concept on Yom HaKippurim, on Yom Kippur, where we Kol Nidre, where we discuss our, we basically say that all of our vows are annulled, and part of that I think might relate to this in some way, I imagine, because there's basically we go out of our way to not say vows. If you hear Orthodox Jews say bli neder, the reason they're saying that is because they're saying, I don't want this to, it's basically saying like, if, without a vow, I'm not like promising this will happen no matter what. So, but if she is betrothed to a man and her vows upon her or by an utterance of her lips which she has imposed upon herself, and her husband hears it but remains silent on the day he hears it, her vow shall stand, and her prohibition which she has imposed upon herself shall stand. But if her husband hinders her on the day he heard it, and he has revoked the vow she has taken upon herself, and the utterance which she had imposed upon herself, then the Lord will forgive her. So, interesting. So then you have, as for the vow of a widow or a divorced woman, whatever she prohibited upon herself will remain upon her. Okay, so she doesn't have that luxury of the husband being able to annul the vow. But if she vowed in her husband's house or imposed a prohibition upon herself with an oath, and her husband heard it and remained silent, and did not hinder her, all her vows shall stand, and every prohibition she imposed upon herself shall stand. If her husband revokes them on the day that he hears them, anything issuing from her lips regarding her vows or self-imposed prohibitions shall not stand. Her husband has revoked them, and the Lord shall forgive her. Okay. Any vow or binding oath of self-affliction, her husband can either uphold it or revoke it. I think this is referring to, like, self-affliction usually refers to fasting. Oh, anyway. So there's an entire tractate of the Talmud devoted to this called Tractate Nedarim. So, however, if her husband remained silent from day to day, he has upheld all the vows and prohibitions she has assumed. He has upheld them since he remained silent on the day he heard it. So, then this is quoting from that Masechta of Gemara Nedarim. If he revokes them after having heard them, he shall bear her iniquity. Okay. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses concerning a man and his wife, a father and his daughter, in her youth while in her father's house. So the responsibility and the onus of, is she too young to, have the responsibility? That's the father's responsibility to figure it out, and then, to annul it if necessary, and then also with the husband. So, Numbers 31. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take revenge for the children of Israel against the Midianites. Afterwards you will be gathered to your people. So this is the people who were enticing the Israelites after the Bilam and Balak debacle. Interesting. So Rashi comments and says it's specifically against the Midianites, but not the Moabites or the Ammonites. So, because I guess the idea that there's going to be a few of them who marry into the nation of Israel, such as Ruth and Naamah. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, "Arm from among you men for the army, that they can be against Midian, and carry out the revenge of the Lord against Midian. And 1,000 for each tribe, and 1,000 for each tribe from all the tribes of Israel you shall send the army. From the thousands of Israel, 1,000 was given for each tribe, 12,000 armed for battle." So here we go, taking revenge against them. Moses sent them the 1,000 from each tribe to the army, them along with Phinehas or Pinchas, our hero from last week's Parsha, the son of Eleazar the Cohen, to the army, with the sacred utensils and the trumpets sounding in his possession. So this shows that Pinchas equaled them all. Why did Pinchas go and Eleazar did not go? Right, he was the high priest, Eleazar, and Pinchas was his son. The Holy One, blessed be he, said, "He is the one who began the mitzvah by killing Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He should finish it." Okay. So that, I don't want to get too in the weeds with this, but they mounted an attack against Midian as the Lord had commanded Moses, and they killed every male. And they killed the Midianite kings upon their slain, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, and the 5 kings of Midian. And Balaam, the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. So Balaam was killed for basically he was responsible for the plague that was killing all the Israelites, because they were fornicating with the women that he sent, and they were also committing avodah zarah, worshiping their idols. So what does it say about this with the sword? He came against Israel and exchanged his craft for theirs, for they are victorious only with their mouths, through prayer and supplication. And he came and adopted their craft to curse them with his mouth. So, okay, he was using that against them. So they too came against him by exchanging their craft for the craft of the nations who come with the sword, as it says concerning Esav. So that was the irony of how he was killed. Interesting. There's some interesting midrashim too about how this happened, that he made some curse that made him fly in the air, or like some incantation, and Pinchas was able to. Very, very interesting midrashim. But it doesn't note it here. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, the children of Israel took the Midianite women and their small children captive, and they plundered all their beasts and livestock and their possessions. They set fire to all their residential cities and their castles, and they took all the booty and all the plunder of man and beast. And they brought the captives and the plunder and the booty to Moses and Eleazar the Cohen and the entire community of Israel in the camp in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan at Jericho. All right, that was quite an aliyah. I guess this is 2 parshiot, so maybe that's why. Moses and Eleazar the Cohen and all the princes of the community went out to meet them outside the camp. Moses became angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of the thousands of the commanders of the hundreds, who had returned from the campaign of war. And Moses said to them, "Did you allow all the females to live?" And they were the ones who were involved in the children of Israel on Balaam's advice to betray the Lord over the incident of Peor, resulting in the plague among the congregation of the Lord. So these females, I guess, were the ones that they sinned with, and I guess they took pity on them, but that was literally why God was killing all the Israelites, because they were sinning with these women, right? So a lot of, if you're having a moral quandary here, the point is that these women were immoral women who were enticing Israel to sin, and because of that, Israel was dying. So that's why the command was to get rid of them, because that everybody will die if they don't do that. So he said, "Now kill every male child, every woman who can lie intimately with a man you shall kill," because that was the whole issue was that their sin was sexual. So, and then it says, and all the young girls who had no experience of intimate relations with the man, you shall keep alive for yourselves. Okay, so there was some level of mercy there. Hashem is merciful. This is definitely, a more controversial part of Scripture, but contextually we see if they didn't do this, then Israel would die. That's kind of the point, is that because they would sin with them. So you encamp outside the camp for 7 days, and anyone who killed a person who touched who touched a corpse shall cleanse himself on the 3rd and 7th day, both of you and your captives. So we discussed this in previous Parshiot, right? With the red heifer and all that stuff. All the garments, leather articles, and goat product, and every wooden article shall undergo purification. Eleazar the Cohen said to the soldiers returning from battle, this is the statute that the Lord commanded Moses. Only the gold, the silver, the copper, and the iron, and the tin, and the lead. Actually, now that I think about it, it might not be specific to the red heifer. It might just be, that was related to purification rituals, but there's, alternative ways to also be purified, I think. I'm not an expert in the korbanos that would be involved, but anyway, whatever is used in the fire, you shall pass through the fire, and it will be clean. However, it also be cleansed with the sprinkling of water. And whatever is not used in the fire, you shall pass through the water. So it's the way that utensils, I guess, are being kashered, basically. So this is halacha regarding like the kashrut of utensils and such, right? You shall wash your garments on the 7th day and become ritually clean. Afterwards, you may enter the camp. I know it's not directly related to kashrut necessarily, but it is definitely, we implement this in cleaning our utensils on some level, with the kalim mikvah and So the Lord spoke to Moses saying, take a count of the plunder of the captive people and animals, you together with Eleazar the Cohen and the paternal leaders of the community, and you shall divide the plunder equally between the warriors who went out to battle and the entire congregation. And you shall levy a tax for the Lord from the soldiers who went out to battle, 1 soul of every 500, from the people, from the cattle, from the donkeys, and from the sheep. And you shall take from their half and give it to Eleazar the Cohen as a gift to the Lord. From the half belonging to the children of Israel, you shall take 1 part out of 50 of the people, of the cattle, and of the donkeys, and of the sheep, and of all the peoples. And you shall give them to the Levites, the guardians of the Mishkan of the Lord. Moses and Eleazar the Cohen did as the Lord commanded Moses. The plunder, which was in addition to the spoils that the army had spoiled, consisted of 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys. And as for the people of the women who had no experience of intimate relations with the man, all souls were 32,000, and that half was the portion of those who went out to battle, and the number of the sheep was 337,500. The tax to the Lord from the sheep was 675. This is why they call this numbers, right? 36,000 cattle, which the tax to the Lord was 72. 30,500 donkeys, of which the tax to the Lord was 61. 16,000 people, of which the tax to the Lord was 32 people. Moses gave the tax, which was a gift to the Lord, to Eleazar the Cohen, as the Lord commanded Moses. And from the half allotted to the children of Israel, which Moses had divided from the men who had gone into the army, the community's half consisted of 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. And Moses took 1 part of the 50 from the half of the children of Israel, from the people and the animals, and gave them to the Levites, the guardians of the Lord's sanctuary, as God commanded Moses. The officers appointed over the armies, thousands and the commanders of thousands and the commanders of the hundreds approached Moses. They said to Moses, "Your servants counted the soldiers who were in our charge, and not one man was missing from us." Okay, great. Everyone's accounted for. "We therefore wish to bring an offering to the Lord. Any man who has found a gold article, be it an anklet, a bracelet, a ring, or an earring, or a body ornament, to atone for our souls before the Lord. No Jesus blood required." Isn't that? Anyway, Moses and Eleazar the Cohen took all the gold articles from them for atonement. No Jesus blood required. The total of the gift of gold which they dedicated to the Lord amounted to 16,750 shekels. This was from the commanders of the thousands and the commanders of the hundreds. The soldiers had seized spoils for themselves. Moses and Eleazar the Cohen took the gold from the commanders of the thousands and the hundreds and brought it to the tent of meeting as a remembrance for the children of Israel before the Lord. Great. And the descendants of, this is where the dispute among the tribes of Reuben and Gad and I think half of Manasseh, it says, were about the land dispute. The descendants of Reuben and Gad had an abundance of livestock and very numerous, and they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead. And behold, this was a place for livestock. And the descendants of Gad and the descendants of Reuben came, and they spoke to Moses and Eleazar the Cohen and the princes of the community, saying, Tarot v'div yivon v'ya azer v'nimra v'chesh bon v'ela aile usvam unvo uvon. I guess these are the princes of the community. So fine. So the land, or wait, it says that this is what they were saying. Okay, okay, fine. The land that the Lord struck down before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. They said, "If it pleases you, let this land be given to your servants as a heritage. Do not take us across the Jordan." Thereupon Moses said to the descendants of Gad and the descendants of Reuben, "Shall your brethren go to war while you stay here? Why do you discourage the children of Israel from crossing over to the land which the Lord has given them? This is what your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh to Barnea to explore the land." So it's like, why are you contesting against the land again? And they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, and they discouraged the children of Israel from crossing into the land which the Lord has given them. The anger of the Lord flared on that day, and he swore, saying, "None of the men from the age of 20 years and over who came out of Egypt will see the land that they swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for they did not follow me wholeheartedly." So that this verse also proves, right? So everybody younger than that was able to make it into the land of Israel. So it's silly when people say only Caleb and Joshua made it into the land from the original Israelites who were slaves in Egypt. BS. This verse proves otherwise. Except Caleb the son of Yefuneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua the son of Nun, who followed the Lord wholeheartedly, right? So, yes, but they were among those who were above the age of 20, they were the only ones who made it into the land there. But everyone younger than that who was, slaves in Egypt, they did make it in. So that's why the Kuzari principle still stands. So, yes, they heard God speak at Har Sinai, and they lived to tell the tale. And they made it into the land. So, and that was a significant amount of people. So the anger of the Lord flared against Israel, and he made them wander in the desert for 40 years until the entire generation who had done evil in the eyes of the Lord had died out, right? But that, once again, people younger than 20 did make it in. And behold, you have now risen in a place of your fathers as a society of sinful people, to add wrathful anger to the Lord against Israel. If you turn away from following him, he will leave you in the desert again, and you will destroy this entire people. They approached him and said, we will build sheepfolds for our livestock here and cities for our children. We will then arm ourselves quickly and go before the children of Israel until we have brought them to their place. Our children will reside in fortified cities on account of the inhabitants of the land. We shall not return to our homes until each of the children of Israel has taken possession of his inheritance. For we will not inherit them on the other side of the Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has come to us on the east bank of the Jordan. So Moses said to them, if you do this thing, if you arm yourselves for battle before the Lord, and your armed force crosses the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven out his enemies before him, and the land will be conquered before the Lord, afterwards you may return, and you shall be freed. So I guess it's kind of like a compromise for that they will still participate in conquering the land of your obligation from the Lord and from Israel, and this land will become your heritage before the Lord. But if you do not do so, behold, you will have sinned against the Lord, and be aware of your sin, which will find you. So, compromise. So build yourself cities for your children and enclosures for your sheep, which have preceded you, and what has proceeded from your mouth you shall do. Interesting that the Parsha started with vows, right? So I guess this is their vow. They better hold themselves to it, right? So yeah, it says, proceed from your mouth you shall, for the sake of the Most High God, for you have undertaken to cross over for battle until the conquest of the apportionment of the land. Moses had asked them only, and will be conquered before the Lord, and afterwards you may return. But they undertook until has taken possession. Thus they added that they would remain 7 years well divided, and indeed they did so. Okay, that's in Joshua, so interesting. So the descendants of Gad and the descendants of Reuben spoke to Moses, saying, your servants will do as my master commands. Our children and our wives and our livestock and our cattle will remain there in the cities of Gilead. But your servants will cross over, all who are armed for combat before the Lord, for the battle, as my master has spoken. And Moses commanded Eleazar the Cohen and Joshua the son of Nun and all the paternal heads of the tribes of the children of Israel concerning them. And Moses said, if the descendants of Gad and Reuben cross the Jordan with you, armed for battle before the Lord, and the land is conquered before you, you shall give them the land of Gilead as a heritage. But if they do not cross over with you for battle, they shall receive a possession among you in the land of Canaan. The descendants of Gad and the descendants of Reuben answered, saying, we shall do as the Lord has spoken to your servants. We shall cross over the Jordan. We shall cross over in an armed force before the Lord to the land of Canaan, and then we shall have possession of our inheritance on this side of the Jordan. And Moses gave the descendants of Gad and the descendants of Reuben and the half-tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the king of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, the king of Bashan, the land together with its cities within the borders, the cities of the surrounding territory. It's just like, we conquered all this land, I guess we might as well make use of it. The descendants of Gad built Dibon, Atarot, and Aror, and Atroth, Shofan, Jazer, and Jogbeha, okay, and Beth Nimrah and Beth Haran, fortified cities and sheepfolds. And the descendants of Reuben built Heshbon, Eliah, and Kiryataim. I'm not going to try to transliterate that. And Nebo and Baal Meon, their names having been changed in Sibmah, and they were called by the names of the names of the cities they built. And the children, here we go. The children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, went to Gilead. Okay, wait, never mind. We're not quite where I thought we were. Gilead, conquering it, driving out the Amorites who were there. And Moses gave Gilead to Machir, the son of Manasseh, and he settled it. Yair, the son of Manasseh, went and conquered the hamlets and called them the hamlets of Yair. And Nobah went and conquered Kenath and its surrounding villages and called it Nobah after his name. Okay, interesting stuff. And these are the journeys of the children of Israel who left the land of Egypt in their legions under the charge of Moses and Aaron. So I think this is just the different locations that they traveled over the 40 years, right? Moses recording the starting points on their journeys according to the word of the Lord, and these were their journeys with their starting points. Okay, get ready for this. Buckle up. They journeyed from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month, and this I think of starting in Nisan, right? On the day following the Passover sacrifice, yes, the children of Israel left triumphantly before the eyes of all the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were busy burying because the Lord had struck down their firstborn and wrought vengeance against their deities, including the lamb. The children of Israel journeyed from Ramses and camped in Sukkot. They journeyed from Sukkot and camped in Etham at the edge of the desert. They journeyed from Etham. Sounds like Dayenu, right? And camped at Pi Baal-Zephon, and they camped in front of Migdol. And they journeyed from Panay and crossed over the midst of the sea for 3 days in the desert from Etham and camped in Marah, right? The waters of Marah, you're familiar with that, with the bitter waters. They journeyed from Marah and arrived in Elim, and there were 12 springs of water and 7 palm trees, and they camped there, and they went to Elim, and they camped by the Red Sea, and they journeyed by the Red Sea, and camped in the desert of Sin, or Zin. No, it's Sin. Okay, it actually is Sin, not Avera. Not sin in the way you think. They journeyed from the desert of Sin and camped in Dofka, and they journeyed from Dofka and camped in Alush, and they journeyed to Alush and camped in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. I guess that's after Miriam died in the well. They didn't have the miracle. And they journeyed from Rephidim. I guess that's probably, connected to the rock story with Moses. They journeyed from Rephidim and camped in the Sinai Desert, and they journeyed from the Sinai Desert and camped in Kibroth Hatava. They journeyed from Kibroth Hatava and camped in Hazarod, and they journeyed in Hazarod and camped in Ritma. And they journeyed from Ritma and camped in Ramon Perez. They from Perez and Libna to Rissa, and Rissa to Kaphala. Oh goodness, Kaphala, Mount Shefer, Hadra, and Hadra to Machela, and Machela, and then Tahath, and camped in Tara. This is what you guys wanted. You wanted me to go through the Parsha. The journey from it's Torah. That's what it is. Okay, then we have Michta, and then we have Hashmana, and then we have Mezerat, and then we have Bnei Jakan, and then we have Hor Hagid God, and then we have Jobath, and then we have Abrona, and then we have Etzion Geber, and then we have the desert of Zin. Okay, there we actually have Zin, which is Kadesh, and then they journeyed from Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor at the edge of the land of Edom. And Aaron the Cohen ascended to Mount Hor at the Lord's bidding and died there. And on the first day of the 5th month, the 40th year of the children of Israel's exodus from Egypt. Oh, interesting. I guess that's the month of Av, yeah. The month of Tisha B'Av, which is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. Aaron was 123 years when he died on Mount Hor, and the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwell in the south, in the land of Canaan, heard the children of Israel had arrived. Okay, more camping in different areas, to Zalmana, to Punon, to Oboth, and then Abarim, the Moabite boundary, and they journeyed from the ruins in Dibon, and then Almon, and then to Abarim and Nebo, and they journeyed to the mountains of Abarim and camped at Moab, and then Jordan and Jericho, and they camped in Jordan to Abel Shittim and the plains of Moab. Okay, great. Woo! Okay, now my computer is freezing. Okay, great. Lord spoke to Moses at the plain of Moab by the Jericho, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you and destroy all their temples, destroy the molten idols, and demolish their high places. You shall clear out the land and settle it, for I have given you the land to occupy it." Oh no, occupiers. This is literally over 1,000 years before Islam was even a thing. So Palestinians, the land was never called Palestine. But anyway, you shall give the land as an inheritance, like at least during biblical times, or even during the Second Temple period. So yeah, you shall give the land as inheritance to your families by lot, to the large, and you shall give larger inheritance to the small, and you shall give smaller inheritance, whether the lot falls shall be according to the tribes of your fathers. You shall inherit. That is key here. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants from the land from before you, then those who you leave over will be as spikes in your eyes and thorns by your sides, and they will harass you in the land in which you settle. And it will be that which I had intended to do them, I will do to you. That what he intended to do to them, God will do to you. Okay. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you arrive in the land of Canaan, this is the land which shall fall to you as an inheritance, and Canaan, the land of Canaan, according to its borders. Your southernmost corner shall be from the desert of Zin along Edom, and the southern border shall be from the edge of the sea salt, the Dead Sea, to the east. And the border turns south of Mala Akrabim, passing towards Zin, and its ends shall be to the south of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall extend to Hazar Adar, continue to Asmon, toward Asmon. And the border then turns from Asmon to the stream of Egypt, and its ends shall be to the sea, and the western border shall be for you the great Mediterranean Sea, and the border, this shall be your western border, and this shall be your northern border from the great Mediterranean Sea. Turn yourselves toward Mount Hor, from Mount Hor to the entrance of Hamath, and the ends of the border shall be toward Zedad, and the border shall then extend to Zephron, and its ends shall be Hazar Enan, and shall be your northern border. And you shall then turn yourselves toward the eastern border from Hazar to Shepham, and the border descends from Shepham toward Rabbah to the east of Ain, and the border descends and hits the eastern shore of Lake Kinneret, and the border then continues down the Jordan and ends is the sea salt, Dead Sea, that shall be your land according to its borders. And Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, this is the land which you are to apportion for inheritance through lot, and that the Lord has commanded to give to the 9.5 tribes. For the tribe of Reuben's descendants according to their father's house, and the tribe of Gad's descendants according to their father's house, and the half tribe of Manasseh have already received their inheritance. And the 2.5 tribes have received their inheritance on this side of the Jordan, near Jericho, on the east toward the sunrise. Okay. Moving on. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, these are the names of the men who shall inherit the land on your behalf. Eleazar the Cohen and Joshua the son of Nun. You shall take one chieftain from each tribe to help you acquire the land. These are the names of the men from the tribe of Judah: Caleb the son of Yefuneh. For the tribe of the descendants of Shimon, Samuel the son of Ammihud. From Benjamin, Elidad son of Chosan. Chieftain of the tribe of Dan, Buki, and the son of Jogli, the son of the tribe of Joseph. And from Manasseh, Haniel, the son of Ephod. And from Ephraim, you have Kimbuel, the son of Shiftan. And from Zebulun, you have Elizaphan, the son of Parnach. And from Issachar, you have Patiel, son of Azan. And the chieftain of the tribe of descendants of Asher, Ahihud, the son of Shalomi. And the chieftain of the tribe of descendants of Naphtali, Pedahel, the son of Ammihud. And these are the ones the Lord commanded to apportion the inheritance to the children of Israel in the land of Canaan. Okay. So the Lord spoke to Moses in the plain of Moab and Jordan and Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they shall give the Levites from their hereditary possession the cities in which they dwell, that you will give the Levites open spaces around the cities. These cities shall be theirs for dwelling, and their open spaces for their cattle, for their property, and for all their needs. The area spaces, open cities, you shall give to the Levites. It shall extend From the wall of the city outward, 1,000 cubits all around. You shall measure from outside the city 2,000 cubits on the eastern side, 2,000 cubits from the southern side, and 2,000 cubits from the western side, and 2,000 cubits from the northern side, from the city in the middle. This shall be your cities and open spaces. Among the cities you shall give the Levites shall be 6 cities of refuge. Okay, this is the Ir Miklat, right, which you shall provide as places to which a murderer can flee. In addition, you shall provide 42 cities, and all the cities you shall give to the Levites shall number 48 cities, them with their open spaces. And as for the cities that you give from the possession of the children of Israel, you shall take from a larger holding, and you shall take less from the smaller one. Each one according to their inheritance allotted to him shall give of his cities to the Levites. Okay, great. We might get into more detail about the Ir Miklat and what to do, unintentional murder. I can't remember if we covered that earlier, but anyway, that was mentioned there. So, okay, final Aliyah. This is probably the most important as far as, contextualizing tribal heritage, going through the father and not through the mother, as Christians will try to argue with Zelophehad's daughters. Even in that case, they had to marry within their tribe. We'll get into it here. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, you shall designate cities for yourselves. They shall be cities of refuge for you. A murderer who killed a person unintentionally shall flee there. These cities shall serve as a refuge from an avenger, so that the murderer shall not die until he stands in judgment before the congregation." Okay, so we'll discuss the city of refuge right now. The cities that you provide shall serve as 6 cities of refuge for you. You shall provide 3 cities in the Transjordan of 3 cities of Canaan, and they shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be cities of refuge for the children of Israel, and for the proselyte and the resident among them, so that anyone who unintentionally kills a person can flee there. If you struck him with an iron instrument and he dies, then he's a murderer, and the murderer shall be put to death. If you struck him with a fist-sized stone, which is deadly, and he dies, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall be put to death. Or with a fist-sized wooden instrument, which is deadly, and he dies, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall be put to death. The blood avenger shall kill the murderer, and he may kill him when he meets him. Oh boy. If out of hatred he pushed him or threw something at him with premeditation and he died, or if he maliciously struck him, this is legal jurisdiction that we get from the Torah, or that we use today, or if he maliciously struck him in his hand when he died, and the assailant shall be put to death, he is a murderer, and the blood of his avenger may kill the murderer when he meets him. But if he pushed him accidentally, without malice, or threw an object at him without premeditation, or with a stone which is deadly, without seeing his victim, and he threw it down and he killed him, it was accidental, but he was not his enemy, and he bore him no malice, then the congregation shall judge between the assailant and the blood avenger on the basis of these judgments, and the congregation shall protect the murderer from the hand of the blood avenger, and the congregation shall return him to the city of refuge, which he had fled, and he shall remain there until the Kohen Gadol, who anointed him, Mashiach, oh no, this means she's the Messiah, according to silly Christians, with the sacred oil dyes. Dr. Brown used this as an argument to say that the death of the righteous atones for sin. Okay, but this wasn't Jesus, so Hebrew 9:22 is a false statement. There are remember, it's not just the Messiah's death, right? If you want to say the death of the righteous atones for sin, great, but don't tell me that it's only through Jesus' blood, right? There are other means also, as we've discussed before. So either way, there is no reason to believe that Jesus' death on the cross is the only way to atone for sin, even if we double down on the idea that the death of the righteous atones for sin. But if the murderer goes beyond the border of the city of refuge which he had fled, then the blood of the avenger finds him outside and limits his city of refuge. Then the blood avenger slays the murderer and has no blood. Then he shall remain in the city of refuge until the Kohen Gadol dies, and only after the Kohen Gadol has died may the murderer return to the land which is in his possession. These shall be a statute of justice for you for all your generations and all your dwelling places. Whoever kills a person based on the testimony of witness, he shall slay the murderer, and a single witness shall not testify against a person so that he shall die. You shall not accept a ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death, for he shall be put to death. You shall not accept a ransom for one who has fled to a city of refuge, to allow him to return to the land before the Cohen has died. And you shall not corrupt the land which you live, for the blood corrupts the land, and the blood which is shed in the land shall not be atoned for, except through the blood of the one who shed it. And you shall not defile the land where you reside, in which I dwell, for I am the Lord who dwells among the children of Israel. So, and here's the final part. The patrilineal heads of the sons of Gilead and the son of Machir and the sons of Manasseh and the families of the sons of Joseph approached and spoke before Moses, before the chieftains and paternal heads of Israel. And they said, the Lord commanded my master to give the land as inheritance to the children of Israel, and our master commanded by the Lord to give inheritance of Zelophehad to our brothers, to our brother, to his daughters. Now, if they marry, pay attention here, Christians, right? Now, if they marry a member of another tribe of the children of Israel, their inheritance will be diminished from the inheritance of our father, and it will be added to the inheritance of the tribe which they married. Thus, it will be diminished from the lot of our inheritance. Even if the children of Israel will have a jubilee, their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe which they marry, and their inheritance will be diminished from the inheritance of their father's tribe. So Moses commanded the children of Israel according to the words of the Lord, saying, the tribe of Joseph's descendants speak justly. This is the word that the Lord commanded regarding Zelophehad's daughters. Let them marry whoever they please, but they have to marry within their tribe. So that proves that even in the case of Zelophehad's daughters, it's still determined, their tribe of their children is determined through the father, not through them, because they still have to marry within their tribe. And that's what Dr. Michael Brown and all his silly Christian followers won't tell you. So it doesn't prove anything about Jesus being the Messiah if he didn't have an earthly father. This Zelophehad's daughter's case does not prove that tribal heritage goes through the mother. On the contrary, it proves the opposite, that even in this case, they still have to marry within their father's tribe in order to inherit tribal heritage, their children. Thus, the inheritance of the children of Israel will not be transferred from tribe to tribe, and each person from the children's tribe of Israel will remain in the inheritance of their tribe. Every daughter from the tribe of Israel who inherits property shall marry a member of her father's tribe, so that each one of the children shall inherit the property of their forefathers. And no inheritance will be transferred from one tribe to another. Each person of the tribe of the children of Israel shall remain attached to his own inheritance. And the Lord commanded Moses, so did Zelophehad's daughters do. Mahlah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, Noah married their cousins. There you go. And they married into the families of the sons of Manasseh and the son of Joseph, or the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained with the tribe of their father's family. And these are the commandments and the ordinances that the Lord commanded the children of Israel through Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. So I hope this Parsha, this video, has been a blessing to you all. Shalom Aleichem.